Hey everyone, before we start part 2 of our exploration of the Devon Arthurs murders in 2017 in Tampa, Florida, and what was behind them, just a quick warning that there is some salty language in this episode. Where you won't find salty language is on our social media. So if you haven't checked it out, please follow us at Deviant Podcast on TikTok and on Instagram. And if you're looking for ways that you can support the show, and we hope you are, check out our Patreon at deviantpodcast.com.
On Sunday, May 21st, 2017, Officer Deanna Torres of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department is on patrol in Key Largo, Florida. It's one of the first keys after leaving the mainland. It's the blue water, margaritas, and flip-flops kind of Florida. Officer Torres and the other Monroe County deputies get a BOLO over their radios. For the uninitiated, BOLO is a police acronym for Be on the Lookout. And this one, specifically, is telling all units to keep eyes open for a blue Dodge Nitro. When Deanna and two other officers spot the blue Dodge Nitro, it's pulling into the Burger King on 9950 Overseas Highway, and its occupants go inside. The officers are waiting for them when they come out.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Turn around.
Get the other one. You have any weapons on you? Do you have any weapons on you?
Turn around, put your hands on your back. What's wrong?
You know what's wrong. Don't play. We're not going to do that. We're not doing that. Stop fidgeting. Why are you fidgeting?
The driver of the blue Nitro is put in the back of Officer Torres' cruiser, and he wants to know why.
Because you do have a warrant out for your arrest right now, okay? So that's going to be him. Well, that's usually sometimes the point of warrants is sometimes you don't know that you have a warrant. Okay? So you'll get to see your family again. You'll be able to make phone calls.
But he can't make phone calls until he's talked to investigators. And there are plenty who want to talk to him.
Sarge said multiple agencies are coming,
Okay.
FBI included. We are to not talk to them or ask them any more questions.
Okay. What's his first name? Bradley?
His name is Brandon Russell.
The one guy has a warrant
This
for explosive devices.
Right.
He's making bombs.
Why is he saying that his roommate murdered 2 people yesterday?
I have no idea. I don't
Okay,
know.
well,
The car's got a bunch of guns and ammunition in it, and they were going to Key West. That's all. I didn't ask him any other questions. I just asked him what we were going to get out of that car.
He's 22 years old and a member of the Florida National Guard. He's also studied nuclear physics at the University of South Florida.
yeah, as soon as I saw it, all I could think was they were going to see us and they were going to run to that car and get in it, and that wasn't going to happen.
And he's also the leader of an international neo-Nazi terror collective known as the Atomwaffen Division.
I was even wondering if we needed to get the people out of the fucking restaurant.
He's too nervous, man. He's way too nervous.
Yeah, something's in that car.
Instantly.
That car is chock full of boxes and packages and shit.
And where are both of those deputies?
And each of them's in a separate patrol car detained.
Check them real well.
The blue Dodge Nitro in the Burger King parking lot is packed with weapons.
What are we going to find in that car? Guns, ammunition.
He's driven more than 500 miles, covering nearly half the state, heading south from Tampa, and the apartment he shares with 3 roommates, Devon Arthurs, Andrew Onishuk, and Jeremy Himmelman. Andrew and Jeremy have been dead for 2 days, shot to death by Devon.
If that's the roommate, there is no telling what's in that fucking car.
What comes out of that car isn't just guns and ammo. It's also the ideology and influence of a young man seemingly hell-bent on radicalizing anyone who will listen. We're all wired differently. Some of us are wired for good, some of us are wired for bad. But a select few step outside all of society's boundaries. From cold open media, this is Deviant. Homicide, Hate, and American Extremism, Part 2. Welcome back to Deviant. I'm Andrew Iden. In our last episode, we walked through how this all kicked off. Devon Arthurs' decision to kill his roommates, the hostage standoff in the smoke shop, and how his 2 victims, Jeremy Himmelman and Andrew Onishuk, wind up in Tampa to begin with. But their murders are an exposure to the regular world of a very sinister and very dangerous group. And its two young leaders, bound by a desire to see the world burn. Literally. It pulls back the curtain on a corner of the extreme far right that is not just about white supremacy, but about making sure everything collapses, only so it can be rebuilt through their warped ideological lens. That's why in this episode, we're telling you how all of this got created. Inside the Tampa Police Department, Devon starts telling police about the white supremacist organization he belongs to before his conversion to Islam. It's called the Atomwaffen Division.
Who are these people?
Atomwaffen. These people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What's that all about?
Atomwaffen Division is a terrorist organization. It's a neo-Nazi organization that I was a part of before I converted.
What's it called?
Atomwaffen Division.
Okay.
As you'll see, Devon is a deeply troubled individual with incredibly warped views of the world. But in this instance, Devon is actually correct because the Atomwaffen Division's plans are terrifying.
My roommate, Brandon, he's alive, the guy that was in the American uniform. I hope he gets his shit together. I hope he gets his life together. He's a good person. But the things that they were planning were horrible. They're planning bombings and stuff like that on countless people. They're planning to kill civilian life.
Were they specific in their plans?
Power lines, nuclear reactors, synagogues, things like that.
And Brandon, the fourth roommate, is the global leader and visionary of that hate-fueled neo-Nazi terror group.
Are these three guys prominent members of those organizations?
Brandon's the leader of the organization.
He is?
Yeah, and I was a senior leader at one point. And I remember...
How many guys you got following you guys? How many guys are part of this organization?
60 to 70.
Throughout the world? Throughout the country?
Throughout the country.
To understand Atomwaffen Division and the root of their ideology, we have to wander a bit into how these neo-Nazi extremist groups think. It's not a good place to be, but it's important to know what we're dealing with because not all of these groups are the same. A lot of the views are similar, but in many cases, the ultimate goal, what these groups consider victory, can and does look very different. Here's Hannah Gaze with the Southern Poverty Law Center, who you heard in our last episode.
The Atomwaffen Division is a group that basically espouses neo-Nazi terrorism as a means of ushering in a whites-only ethno-state. So they see National Socialism as their ideal political concept.
Luke Baumgartner knows these guys too. He's a research fellow at George Washington University's program on extremism.
Atomwaffen Division was a far-right neo-Nazi militant accelerationist group. That's a lot of qualifiers to add before it, but each one of those qualifiers or descriptors has a purpose. It serves a purpose for accurately describing who they are. So firstly, they are neo-Nazis, or they were neo-Nazis. Now, when we use the term neo-Nazi, of course, the prefix neo means new. So anything after 1945 Germany, any Nazi or National Socialist group is labeled neo-Nazi. And like their German predecessors, they are militant, so they do resort to violence, and they do see violence as a means to achieving their goals. And their goals broadly are, the establishment of a white ethno-state in the US, in Europe, in the West more broadly. And what they do, or what they seek to do, is to remove anybody who's not white. So that means Jews, Muslims, even white people that are ostensibly on their racial side, but if they're seen as race traitors, such as they intermarry with Jews or they have an interracial marriage or relationship, they're considered race traitors and not worthy of a place in that white ethno-state. And the third thing is that they are accelerationist.
Accelerationism basically involves pushing the system, the political system, society, the economy, basically everything within the United States towards this breaking point where they believe that there will be this violent race war, and they can then use that to come out on top and fracture American society into separate racial blocs.
They seek to accelerate the collapse of modern Western society because they see it as decadent, they see it as non-white, they see it as Jewish, and they hope to instigate that through racially motivated violence and acts of terrorism. So that can include sabotage, attacks on critical infrastructure, murders, assassinations, mass shootings, derailing trains, anything to sort of throw a monkey wrench in the gears of modern society is what they seek to accelerate the collapse of what they see as a society that's no longer worth having.
So they, unlike certain parts of the white nationalist movement or even the neo-Nazi movement, they don't see any real reason to want to get involved with kind of what we would consider normal politics. So running candidates, doing basic outreach maybe to constituents or demonstrations. They are very much on the fringes in terms of where they see their tactics.
Here's Ali Winston. You'll remember him from our last episode. He's covered the Atomwaffen Division and groups like them for years.
There was an Atomwaffen Division branch in Germany. They're really spread all throughout the world. And it served as a kind of template, an organizing template and a resource for propaganda, for literature. These people all read very, very, very intensely. Like, they pay close attention to the tenets of their world and the ideology.
Yeah.
So that really was the kind of common resource that they shared, and I would say the inspiration for early stages of this revival.
Really what this group is about, that it wasn't just about what Atomwaffen Division was doing right after Russell announced his formation on Iron March, which was spreading Nazi propaganda around college campuses, but it's basically about carrying out these big attacks on infrastructure, on minorities, ethnic and religious minorities, and sexual minorities, that ultimately their goal here is violence.
That's the down and dirty of the ideology. And Atomwaffen itself was founded it announced its existence in October 2015 on the Iron March forums, and Brandon Russell was the brainchild of all that.
The ideology of the Atomwaffen Division and its leader, Brandon Russell, is really quite simple. Get to the end of everything as fast as you can. So then, how does Brandon, a member of the Florida National Guard, actually become the figurehead of a group so far out on the fringe? Here he is in the Tampa Police Department with Detective Neitlinger on the day of the murders in the apartment. This is actually 2 days before he stopped in Key Largo. And Brandon's talking to them about Devon, the murders, and even his own upbringing. They're trying to figure out what exactly was happening in the apartment and who was involved.
Were you brought up that way?
What, my
Your parents, yeah.
No.
Yeah, a lot of political beliefs and religious beliefs are shared by, that's how kids grow up.
Parents don't support my beliefs.
Brandon Russell was a young white guy who had divorced parents. He grew up in the Bahamas for part of his life, and he split time between the Bahamas and mainland U.S.
So how did you first what triggered that for you? How did you first find that? Your parents bring you up one way and you go a different way. How'd that happen?
Just studied into the tenets and policies and how it worked, and the great economic miracle of 1933 that saved Germany from the depression that from Weimar Germany. All that type of shit. Just studying. For one, I always loved history. So
okay.
He had always had an interest in sort of the gothic music scene, like National Socialist black metal and that sort of stuff, death metal music, and that's where he kind of started to become more exposed to National Socialist ideology or Nazism.
So therefore, it's just through studying history, you gravitated toward it. I like that
a lot
of
stuff that we learned about in high school was lies. It's just blatant lies. Why is there always just only one side of this story told to me? It's just evil, murder. Why don't I learn what they actually did?
He started having this sort of radicalization pathway where he would purposely seek out more so of the National Socialism angle as opposed to, black metal or anything like that. And that's when he ended up finding Iron March, and he found a cadre of like-minded individuals.
Ali Winston.
So he grew up in a life of relative ease, and he had from all accounts that his family's put out there, and frankly from his own writings, he had a long-standing obsession with the Third Reich, with World War II. That evolved into heavy interest in National Socialism, in Hitler. in the tenets of National Socialism and their program of racial supremacy, ethnic cleansing, genocide, what have you. And he traveled to Great Britain. And, he met a lot of these young National Action folks on Iron March. He traveled to Great Britain in, I believe, 2015, maybe early 2016, met with them in person. He, took photos with them, palled around, clearly took notes on what they were doing over there. And then when he came back to the U.S., he started up the Atomwaffen Division, along with a bunch of other folks he knew, either in person, in real life in Florida, or folks who he'd met online through the Iron March platform. Yeah. And that really is the genesis of the Atomwaffen Division. Brandon really was the guy who actually drove people to act. He was the person who drove people to organize in groups. He really made an effort to try and build community. And if you look at, there was a leak of Iron March, a breach of the Iron March archive in 2019, and it was made available online, so you could actually search through the old messages. If you look at his history before his first arrest and then incarceration, he was prolific. This was his community. This was the world that he felt the most comfortable in, which is why he kept returning to it time and time and time again.
One of his main gripes was that he was tired of people just talking about committing acts of violence, taking action against black people, Jews, Muslims, anybody who wasn't white. So he sought to start his own militant group, his own militant paramilitary group that would finally move past just talking or shitposting on forums and actually move into real-world violence. And that's when he found Devon Arthurs.
There are a lot of police interviews in this episode, and they're important to hear because we get insight on how people like Devon and Brandon are made, their bizarre worldviews, how they arrive there. Devon's dad is Alan Arthurs. We've reached out to him multiple times, and while we did hear back from him, he never granted us an interview. Instead, we have to lean on what he told police in the wake of Devon's arrest about his son connecting with Brandon for the first time.
You met Brandon for the first time
February of 16.
February of 16.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was the
remember that clear as a bell. Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
Other guys, did they come in dressed in a certain way? Did they?
No, normal. Look good.
Like regular high school kids.
Sure, regular high school kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no problems then. No issues with the. I guess they call it the neo-Nazi type of mentality at that point.
No, there was no. They weren't trying to play hard. They weren't trying. You know what I mean? It didn't seem.
Came across completely normal.
He came across as. He shook my hand, firm handshake, looked me in the eye, Mr. Arthurs, how you doing, da-da-da-da-da, and pleasure to meet you, and da-da-da-da-da, and all this stuff.
Within the ranks of Atomwaffen Division, Brandon isn't just Brandon. Instead, he goes by a name that in Norse mythology is associated with war, death, and wisdom. Inside Atomwaffen Division, Brandon is known as Odin.
When did you first come to know Brandon was involved in your son's life? In any way, online and personally?
I first heard Odin. His name was Odin. When the Thor movie came out. When the second Thor movie came out, so that was 13 or 14.
Okay.
Because I bought the Blu-ray, and he said something about, he goes, yeah, well, I got a friend, Odin. I said, oh, wow, that's his name?
Devon and Brandon met via Iron March. And Devon was involved in the Atomwaffen Division's early days his handle, the one that I was able to look at through the Iron March leaks was White Wolf. And, insofar as the lore of the organization goes, Devon is credited as one of the Atomwaffen Division's co-founders. He did, because he was close in proximity to Brandon, they did meet up in person quite often. They would go on hiking missions and train together. I believe Devon appears, their faces are masked, but I do believe Devon appears in some of the earliest Atomwaffen Division propaganda from 2016, the first photos of folks out in the wilderness. And he was a very committed and prolific propagandist on the message boards. I don't know when Devon chose to move in with Brandon.
You never really got to know Brandon all that well?
No, just knew that his parents were in the Bahamas. He came across, I'm a pretty good judge of BS myself. He came across very, very, straightforward. I did think the handshake was a little much, but I thought he was just trying to impress me.
Sure.
And all that.
We tried contacting Brandon's family, too, to get an understanding of when and how his radicalization actually took place, but we never heard back. The Brandon Russell-Devon Arthurs connection is the spark that gets Atomwaffen Division off the ground. Given the 4-year age difference, Brandon is 21 and Devon is 17 at the time. It's hard not to wonder if Devon looks up to Brandon in some ways, admiring his older friend's devotion to the cause.
Brandon was able to function within society, right? He was a little bit older than Devon. Devon was very young when he started out in the Atomwaffen Division. I believe he would have been underage at that point in time, 15, 16 years old. And I think he was just absolutely fascinated with the Third Reich. And, similar to Brandon, he had his own affinity for World War II and that sort of period.
Devon called me not 1 week before all this and said that he got a job. Everything was great. You got to see this place. It's really nice. You'll really like it.
Talking about where he was living?
Where he's living, yeah. Our new place. Yeah, our new place. He said that he and Brandon had been traveling. I knew that through even from the time I met Brandon up until all this. They'd claimed, I don't know this.
Okay.
I mean, they'd claimed they'd been to Detroit. They'd claimed they'd been to Chicago. They claimed they'd been to Boston. They
You say for what purpose?
I'd ask him what was going on.
Okay.
And he would claim it was, somehow even the conversations would somehow turn to guns. Like, everything's fine, da-da-da. Then he starts talking about a gun or guns and stuff like that. But you don't have to worry, Dad. It's not, it's not. And what he's basically was implying was that they were buying guns and selling guns in different states.
Here's Brandon again in his interview with Tampa police.
There's some things that Devon and I had talked about, and there's some things that, seeing inside your apartment, obviously are going to raise some questions. Okay, you mentioned earlier some political belief issues. Walking into your apartment, there's no questioning, at least in my mind, where your political beliefs lie. And Devon explained to me, or at least that might be something he's trying to explain now in light of what happened, that he doesn't share necessarily the same beliefs as you and he once did. Has he changed his way of thinking recently?
I think so.
What tell me about that? I mean, let's be candid with one another. Obviously, what you got going on there is your political beliefs more neo-Nazi type beliefs? Yes? Is he shaking your head? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. What did he used to? All you guys on the same page until Devon has recently kind of changed his tune on that?
I guess.
Do you guess or do you know?
I know.
So tell me about that. Take me through that whole progression of change, I guess.
So like, he's Muslim, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with anyone's religion.
These police tapes really give us a good glimpse at these two avowed white supremacist neo-Nazi leaders, their relationships, and their dueling perspectives. Here's Devon talking about his original reasons for becoming a part of the Atomwaffen Division.
My main ties to this organization is I was a part of it out of necessity. I needed a place to stay away from my family. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I should have lived with them. I was just trying to get out of the house and stuff like that. And I would try to, I managed to convince some people to drop a lot of these beliefs and stuff like that. And I can feel thankful that I've done something like that. That's why I was a part of it. It was mainly to try to get people away from the shit and try to basically.
That's when you first joined up?
No, this is when I was already part of it when I converted. I just when I converted, I was I got it. While I'm in here, I can't just leave it. If I left it, then I'd probably be killed or something like that. But if I'd either be killed or something in that nature. But if I didn't do that, then when it comes down to it, then I might as well try to convince people while I'm there, almost basically convince people don't do this, don't throw your life away.
But you made no secret about it to even Brandon, I imagine, of your faith, right? They knew what you were about.
Yeah.
And they still tolerated you.
Yeah, they still tolerate. Yeah, they did barely.
But why? Why?
I honestly don't really know. I think Brandon has a true connection with me.
Back to Brandon now.
Did you guys all meet kind of the same circle?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I mean, I guess we came together because we feel similar in a way.
See, Brandon, we're just trying to find out what caused this.
I don't know. My fucking friends are dead.
Right. Yeah. Well, and your third friend killed him.
Right.
And based on the way Devon's describing it, it sounds like a theological argument is exactly how he portrays it, to use your terms, man. So that's why I'm asking, man. So to go from it's no big deal to shooting a couple guys in the condo, was there any indication this was brewing to that level?
Somewhat. I mean, he'd be really depressed, and I never thought anything like this would happen. Like,
really depressed? How? Like, sulking around the apartment?
No, just like fucking, I guess, feeling isolated because of his beliefs.
Here's Hannah Gaze again from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
When Arthurs is arrested after the double murder, so he basically is talking to police, and he sounds the alarm on Brandon Russell, because at the time the two of them were living together.
Brandon's literally somebody that has the knowledge to build a nuclear bomb. I'm not meaning about that. He's literally somebody that he's somebody that literally went to school for 4 years to study radiation specifically to build a nuclear bomb. And
do you know if these materials are inside that condo right now?
No, there's no nuclear materials. Actually, there is. Yes, there is nuclear materials in that garage. There is some nuclear materials.
One of the things that police find when they're searching the apartment that Arthur shares with Russell is a bunch of bomb-making materials. They find neo-Nazi literature, basically copies of the Turner Diaries and Mein Kampf. They find a framed photo of Timothy McVeigh, the one who instigated the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people and injured hundreds more. And they also find a skull mask and various photos online of these guys, like holding Atomwaffen Division flags, wearing tactical gear, etc.
Brandon's devotion to the Atomwaffen cause, its accelerationist ideal, and the desire to destroy various corners of the American infrastructure is a big part of his life while he's serving in the military. Ironic? Certainly. But that devotion is clear when you see some of the correspondence Brandon has with Devon while he's training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Grand idea is that once he's back, he'll train everybody in military tactics. He wants to make sure that everyone in Atomwaffen Division is prepared for conflict and battle. He even draws pictures of violent Nazi imagery and uses quotes from Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. In these letters, he never wavers, and his resolve is clear. And he ends every letter with the same two words: Hail Victory. But when Devon kills Jeremy and Andrew in Tampa in May 2017, suddenly everything is kind of out in the open. Brandon's world, which thrives on the internet and in the darkness, can't really operate in the shadows anymore with two of his roommates and disciples the victims of a murder.
Russell, when he's arrested, tries to claim that the bomb-making materials that were in his apartment were related to his studies at the University of South Florida. But given everything else, that's certainly not terribly convincing. Some of the materials I had in his apartment were the exact same materials that McVeigh used to build his bomb.
Having all those materials in the garage, the coolers full of the explosive chemical HMTD, ammonium nitrate, and nitromethane, that's all what prompted the Key Largo traffic stop we heard about at the beginning. So Brandon spends 4 years in federal lockup.
During his time in prison, he was staying in touch with members of the Atomwaffen Division, and he was staying in touch with members of the movement.
A lot has transpired in the years since my incarceration. I've become a prisoner of war in this war against society. Much has been done and much has been said. To all my loyal comrades who have stuck around through thick and thin, I thank you for your undying courage and loyalty. To all who have come along since then, since system has captured me, welcome aboard. To all of those who abandoned ship once hitting rough waters, woe to you.
This is, reportedly, the voice of Brandon Russell from inside prison, delivering a message in a propaganda video posted online. The video shows members in military training, wielding weapons, preparing for what many of them see as the coming war on, well, everything. The Atomwaffen Division, at its peak, has almost 70 members around the world. Here's Luke Baumgartner again from George Washington University.
So if you remember, in October of 2018, there was a mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by a man named Robert Bowers. And Robert Bowers was active on Gab, and he was active on a number of other far-right white supremacist websites. So Robert Bowers walked into Tree of Life Synagogue and shot and killed 11 people. And it was the deadliest attack on the American Jewish community in history. After that, the Biden administration started taking a really hard look at what they termed racially and ethically motivated violent extremism. And it was also during this time that you had other far-right groups forming. You had the Proud Boys, which were super popular in 2018 because they were still kind of riding that wave of the alt-right, though they weren't engaging in terrorist activity as we would typically see it. And then you also had the emergence of the Base in June 2018, which was another group that sort of modeled themselves on the Atomwaffen structure. So 2018 was the turning point. And if you look at the years of 2019 and early 2020, that's when the majority of the Atomwaffen members ended up getting arrested on federal charges, overwhelmingly.
Groups like AWD never actually go away. They oftentimes just rebrand or roll into something else. And when Brandon Russell gets out of prison, Atomwaffen is barely there anymore. But Brandon is not deterred. Here's Ali Winston.
And when he came out of prison, I would say he was more committed to his ideology than he was when he went in. And it was clear that he, through his communications, he met the woman with whom he was conspiring to blow up those power plants in Maryland with Sarah Clendaniel. He met her while in prison, writing people through a letter, through a pen pal program.
Once he's released from prison, Brandon and Sarah meet in person and start a relationship. And it's not exactly a rom-com. She shares many of his views and goals, and they work together to make them real. It doesn't go well for them at all, because in 2023, both are arrested and charged with conspiring to destroy the power grid in Baltimore, Maryland.
He decided to try and put together a plot to cause a rolling blackout in Baltimore by attacking substations, and his view of what would happen is that maybe this would trigger a race war, and that would, start the process towards social collapse that is kind of basic to his ideology.
In August of this year, 2025, Brandon is sentenced in that Baltimore case, and he receives a 20-year sentence for conspiring to damage or destroy electrical facilities in Maryland. And his girlfriend, Sarah Clendaniel, gets 18 years for her role in the conspiracy. So after all of this, it may seem like this drifts a little far from the Devon Arthurs side of this story, but it's actually the root of all of it, because the two of them, in varying degrees of leadership, were the driving force of Atomwaffen Division. They dictated the ideology, built the infrastructure of the group, and used the internet to amplify the message. They determined policy, if that's what you want to call it, that ultimately just meant the downfall of everything, the complete dismantling of society. And all of that is what pulls Andrew Onishuk and Jeremy Himmelman from their homes in Massachusetts to the apartment in Tampa where they were killed. Brandon Russell is in prison for at least the next 20 years, but Devon Arthurs' path is a little more complicated. His role in Andrew and Jeremy's deaths is never in question after he confesses to anyone who will listen. Detectives, police driving him to the station, even Amanda in the Tampa Palms rental office who you heard at the beginning of this series. But for years, whether Devon is mentally fit to stand trial is a question that doesn't seem to have a straightforward answer.
The term weaponized autism has been rolled out time and time and time again to describe this type of young, often white extremist who engages in homicidal behavior.
Next time on Deviant, Devon Arthurs' mental status goes under a microscope.
I'm very prone to getting angry a lot. I'm very to the point where I think that I might be kind of sick in that sense.
This episode of Deviant is written by me, Andrew Iden. Dan Semitovich is editor and producer. and Clark Goldman provides editorial support. Original scoring by Shuvo Sir. Sales, marketing, and distribution support comes from our partners at Gemini 13. Deviant is a production of Cold Open Media.